What is up, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of the Creative Hunter podcast. This is episode 58, and this week we have Luke Dusenbury on the podcast. Luke is an incredible photographer and filmmaker. If you watch a lot of hunting films, you've definitely seen one of his films, and he's pretty much always behind the camera, just filming stuff. Luke's awesome. I've known him for a few years now, and I think you guys can learn quite a bit from him. This conversation could have gone on forever. Like, we'll probably do another podcast eventually, but what we did talk about is really good stuff. Hope you guys enjoy it. As always, if you want anything off of the website, Bino Visor, hoodies, or hats, if you use the code podcast15, you'll get a 15% off discount on anything on the website. So check it out. Thanks you guys for listening. Let's jump into this episode with Luke Dusenbury. We'll just keep chatting, dude, and we'll get into it. How's Boise?
It's good. Yeah, we moved in October. So we've been here, what is that, like 7 months, something like that.
Yeah.
It's been really good. The move was hectic with like my knee injury. We literally sold our house the week I blew my knee out.
That's crazy.
It was crazy. It was pretty stressful, not gonna lie. But we ended up hiring a moving company and got all settled. It's still like we're finally kind of still like unpacking a few things just in our garage. But yeah, we're for the most part we're settled. Getting connected with some local friends, found a good local church here, and meeting a little bit of community and stuff. So yeah, it's been really, really good. And
That's
work's
cool.
just been crazy. I've been like, especially like since about like first part of February, it's just been like one of the busiest seasons of work I've ever had, especially for like a spring, early summer time frame. That's like usually kind of slow time for me, but it's been really busy. So very, very thankful.
Awesome, dude. Is it a lot of is the move helped to just get more work, being closer to stuff?
I mean, that was a big part of it. Like we wanted to have a bigger like population center where I could hopefully get like some more local clients and stuff and have a little less travel work. But it's just the timing of it all. Like when we moved, like I had a lot of travel work already lined up, and it's kind of like the last like week, it's kind of slowed down where we just had like a week with Alexa's mom actually here in town. So we just had like kind of a week to chill and everything like that. But yeah, it's been crazy, but hopefully, I mean, that's the plan. Hopefully get some more local clients, but for right now, I'm just like, work's really busy and just got to take what I can get right now. So
Nice. That's cool, dude.
but yeah.
So as like a creative, you kind of started out a lot in the hunting industry, but obviously you're doing more outside of that now, right? I mean,
Yeah.
because we haven't even been in hunting season for a few months, but you're still super busy. What does that look like for you then? Are you kind of phasing more into different stuff as you're going along your journey, or how's that been?
Yeah. So, I mean, kind of my thing has been, I feel like the last 2 years is just like, how can I, um, maximize like maximize my time, maximize my workload. Because like I do love what I do and I love, like photo, video, storytelling, the whole nine. And so I like, and you can do that with so many different genres of work, so many different genres of industry and people. And like, I don't know, I just like, I'm always looking for like that next story or the next, individual or brand, that has a unique or compelling story or angle, to kind of tell and lean into. And so like, for example, back in, I think it was February, I got reached out to by a sauna company called Sisu Sauna, and there's awesome people. They make these saunas that are like, the wood is from Idaho. They're handmade by these Amish guys in Ohio, and they ship out like all over the world. And they're just like incredible dudes over there doing that. But they reached out to me because they were doing a sauna build here in Boise with Chad Mendez. And he's just like, a hop, skip, and a jump from where I live here. So we ended up meeting up and I did 2 projects for them, one with Chad and then one with Mountain Ops a few weeks later. But yeah, I don't know. But like, it's cool because like it kind of transcends like hunting a little bit because like they were working with Chad, like they wanted to do something with Mountain Ops. And so like, it was cool because like the owner, Pete, is just like a super awesome dude. about my same age, and he was just like, yeah, like I've been doing a lot of stuff with like Cam and all these other hunters. I really want to get into it. So it's been cool to like kind of like almost like cross like, the sauna industry with like hunting with my work. And
Mm-hmm.
like I said, I've just been super, super blessed to kind of like be in the place I'm at right now with getting to work with guys like that. But yeah, I don't know. Going back to your question though, like, I don't know. I love what I do. Like, I think that kind of was what boils down to is just like, I don't want to just only be pigeonholed per se to the hunting industry because I mean, it's only a seasonal kind of an endeavor. Unless you're like trying to, go, travel a little bit more or go somewhere where they have a season, like a Southern Hemisphere season, like New Zealand or something, or Texas or Hawaii or things like that, or Mexico in the wintertime, which I do. Open to all those things as well, for sure. But yeah, I don't know, just kind of like looking ahead, like my business, I think the last few years, especially, I've just been trying to like find opportunities that, you know, test my abilities, help, gain new knowledge about how to capture this, this industry or this product or this, show. Like I did some stuff, as you know, like with like a fishing show called the Sport Fishing Championship on the East Coast last few years. And so just like learning like the saltwater industry, how to capture that, and working with some of the like most talented guys in that space and trying to learn from them, and iron sharpen iron kind of a thing, like glean some stuff off them, and just get new inspiration that I can tie back into hunting stories and hunting films and that sort of thing. But yeah, I would say, like, because I've had several people ask me that question, I think it's not at all like getting out, like not at all, but just branching out and just trying to draw from new streams of creativity, or inspiration from other industries. And I think it's, for me at least, it's like been a really healthy thing, just like creatively. And I feel like it's something I'm going to continue to do. But at the same time, like I'm so stoked for this hunting season, especially like having gone through that knee injury, like I mentioned, like last year. I'm really looking forward to 2025 and some of the hunts that I've got on the docket for clients, but also for personal too, because I really want to like lean into the personal side, especially after missing that, last year. So
Yeah, yeah, yeah. On that, just kind of what you just talked about, like the hunting industry, it's so seasonal, especially if you're just here in the U.S. because you have a little bit of spring for bear or something or turkey, but then like it's all in the fall and summer and winter is pretty dead for the most part, right? There's not a ton of big projects going on. So, um, yeah, I've from other people I've talked to, like Kobe Owens and stuff. It's like branching out during those slower times and trying to work with some different clients in different industries and just working through that and figuring out how to just make it happen the rest of the year. And that's something that I've been working on a little bit, but just been busy um, with school for the rest of the year. But
for sure.
then,
And you're just saying you're almost done with school, which is so
yeah,
exciting.
almost done, almost
Yeah.
done. A few more weeks. So, and it's
I mean,
perfect timing.
we've been friends for the last, what, 3 years? Right when I moved
Yeah,
out here
I
in
guess
college,
so.
we met. I think it was through Instagram.
Yeah,
And I remember you were like, "Yeah, I'm in school," and I was like, "Dude, your work is like really, really good, like killer." And you're like, "Yeah, I'm just doing in school, just trying to figure out what I want to do." And yeah, I remember just like from the very beginning, I was just like, "Dude, you have a talent, you have a gift. Like, if there's anything I can do to help you, like, nurture that, or advice, like stuff I've messed up on, like I'm an open book." So
yeah. Well, dude, seriously, you've been like an awesome friend over the last few years and helped out and answered questions and everything. So
I know
I
I'm bummed we
appreciate
don't
it.
live closer.
I know, me too.
Because I like when we went bear hunting that one time, that was so fun. Just like
Yeah,
following those cool areas and stuff.
yeah. Yeah, actually, I went back to some of those spots, not the exact spots this year, but same mountain range,
Yeah.
and actually like found a few bears. So
Yeah. No,
they're in there.
I was watching the YouTube video you put out, like, and yeah,
Yeah,
there's some nice bears too.
yeah. So
Yeah.
good
That's great,
spot.
man.
Well, maybe we'll get back sometime.
Maybe so.
What hunts do you have as far as like personal hunts? What do you got lined up this year?
Yeah. So my wife and I actually drew, the only tags we drew this year were cow tags. So we've got a
Oh,
like
nice.
season cow hunt that I'm actually like, the more I've thought about it, like the more I'm like really excited for it. Just because it'll be a good like meat opportunity, like just a rifle hunt in December.
Hmm.
So really, oddly enough, excited for that. just because it'll be fun with my wife, obviously trying to get her first animal with a rifle potentially. And then as far as that, I've just got a couple over the counter stuff like here in Idaho, like deer and elk, archery, and then probably rifle for deer. And then my dad actually has a really good elk tag here in Idaho, for rifle season that I'm like so stoked for, because I was going to go hunting with him last year, but when we had a similar situation, he had a really good elk tag in Idaho, but we ended up just not going because I blew my knee out. So just looking for a really good time with my dad to spend in the mountains with him and kind of have like a redemption of that time, because you only get so many seasons with your dad. So
Yeah.
that's probably like of all the things like client related, personal hunt related, that's like the number one thing I'm looking forward to for this
Nice.
hunting season. But yeah, and I might, me and my buddy John Bash, we're talking about doing Oregon blacktail again, for over the counter rifle, just because it's
Hmm.
just such a fun hunt. And I get to go home, see family and stuff. So that's kind of another thing we're kicking around. But beyond that, on the client side, still shoring up a few things. But I've got a hunt with Leopold and Jason Phelps, for elk that I'm pretty stoked on. I'm excited to see, kind of what becomes a project hunt as well. See if that lines up with my hunt schedule. If Leopold asks me to be a camera guy on one of those stories again, I would
Hmm.
love to do that, because those are just some of my favorite work that I've done in the hunting industry. Just working with, just kind of like your average blue collar guy or average dude who may not even have social media, but they have a cool hunt or a cool story or had something, in life happen to them. And then Leopold, seeing that or through their project hunt campaign and wanting to highlight that and tell their story. And that's like, I don't know, like looking back in the last few years, like those have been some of my absolute favorite projects that I've done in my whole career.
Yeah. Those are cool. I love watching those. And you guys do a good job like showing the story and talking about the person and their life and their story.
Thank you,
So,
man.
yeah. Um, for kind of switching gears a little bit for like other creatives in the industry, younger guys especially, it's like how do you find work and how and maybe going back 5, 6 years, like what in what ways would you like um would you recommend people go about like finding jobs and finding work, especially if they're start just kind of getting started in the industry?
Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, if I was to go back to about like 2017, 2018, when I started like going freelance and really like leaning into like, just like part-time work, part-time shoots, and that, that snowballed into other things. The biggest thing that I think about that I was going through at that time was just like I was shooting all the time. Like all my free time I was shooting just stuff for fun. Um, I guess you can maybe say like on spec, meaning like, just like trying to shoot like cool outdoor content, like, on a hike of like a product or of just like or a certain moment on like a backpacking trip or something like that. And then, maybe not, I wasn't really necessarily marketing to companies or anything like that, like an actual spec shoot, but at the same time, I was just practicing, just those moments, kind of like documentary style, photojournalist style, fly on the wall style, just with me and my friends in college. And then, for doing that for several years, it just kind of snowballed into, having like an Instagram portfolio of images of us, hiking waterfalls or camping in the Cascades in Oregon and, having the campfire and the tent set up with the Milky Way, like just like stuff like that. Just kind of, I feel like just, and obviously just getting my reps, like learning how to shoot, that style. And then also like, kind of going back to the beginning of the conversation, like I was shooting some weddings for some friends who were getting married. And I got asked to shoot like a small music video for, a friend of mine at the time. But now it's, fast forward to now, I've ended up shooting like 5 or 6 music videos for him, as well as a couple other artists as well. So I don't know. My biggest thing would be, I guess, to summarize all that, is just like to shoot a ton and edit a ton, and learn what you like, what you don't like, and then the stuff you like, just like lean into it and just like post it. Just continue to like to sharpen your skills, and then at least for me, like the the way I would say is just people just found me, but I also had to reach out several times to to different brands or companies, and oftentimes I wouldn't hear anything back, and that's totally fine. And then just learning how to kind of navigate that. And the biggest thing I learned from the folks I did reach out to through Instagram or through emailing customer service, trying to get in contact with a marketing person, at some company, all the different channels I tried. The biggest thing I learned and kind of took away was just it never hurts to ask, because if asking, hey, can I do a shoot with you, or do you have a project, or can I do like a product trade, to start a relationship with you guys, and then maybe snowball into something else. Like those early conversations that I had, the biggest thing I took away was just like, it never hurts to ask, because some of those people that I didn't expect to ever respond to me did. And that wouldn't have happened. I wouldn't have been on their radar had I not just put myself out there and asked. So that's kind of like my, I guess, one piece of advice for people in that stage of, having this like, small little kindred fire in their soul. Like, I love doing this, like this is a passion, and I want to like keep, feeding that and going forward with it. But yeah, it just never hurts to ask.
Yeah. I love that. That's so true. And then when you do get that opportunity, just like double down on it and do your best
Yeah.
to deliver on with whatever you're getting out of it.
Yep.
So
Do
then
the
you can
best
just
you
get those
can
jobs
with,
more.
the opportunities you're given, and only, worry about the controllables, which are your attitude and your effort. And if you can do that to the best of your abilities, just what's going to happen after that, the cards are going to fall, and whatever will be, will be.
Yeah, for sure. Do you ever get in creative slumps or similar type of things where you're just like, it's kind of hard to either pick up the camera or go do shoots outside of work, stuff like that?
I feel like the biggest thing is I'll get in a creative slump where I don't want to edit. Like
Oh yeah.
I won't have a problem necessarily like shooting stuff. For example, like my wife and I just went to Havasupai Falls and did like a huge backpacking trip there, and it was nice. Like I brought my camera and my little DJI Action for like kind of like GoPro camera. I ended up using that one mostly just because it was fun and different, and like I don't know, it just was, obviously there's no pressure either way. Like I'm not down there to make a video for somebody or anything, but I still like I wanted my camera to kind of just like just have it and take some photos, and I definitely took some I was pretty stoked on. But at the same time, like I've been home a week and we had some family in town, so it's been kind of busy. But I'm just like, dang, when am I going to get to those? Because I've got client stuff, I've got other editing stuff. So I'd say like that's my biggest creative rut probably is finding time or making time to edit like the personal stuff. But that kind of comes and goes, and I think that's completely normal and healthy to have creative ruts. And I don't think we have to be like on all the time 100%. Like with anything, like you're gonna have times where you need to rest, or just kind of like decompress a little bit, or try something new, like go shoot something totally for fun for free elsewhere, or maybe reach out to a company in a different space that you never worked in, or that has some similar similarities to it. Like that's going back to like in the beginning, like I just tried when I was getting into photography and video, just shooting all these different types of styles and industries and genres of it, just to learn different situations or poses or lighting or techniques or focal lengths that work better than others at different things. And then just transfer that knowledge into another industry that maybe doesn't have that like same regimented, or maybe it's the opposite. Maybe it's totally open ended, like more freestyle kind of style. Like the offshore fishing world is very freestyle in my opinion, creatively. Like there's just a lot of people doing a lot of really unique looking things that I think absolutely could be kind of transferred into the hunting industry, as far as of imagery and storytelling and that sort of stuff.
Yeah. It's interesting to see other industries and how like the styles differ, but then like you'll see stuff from certain creatives in like the hunting industry or other industries that's similar, and it's like, oh, that's cool. Like they probably gained that inspiration from like that spot right there or something like that, you know? Where do you find inspiration? I assume it's outside of the hunting industry. Most people that's kind of where they go.
I mean, it's kind of like both. I
Yeah.
mean, I draw a lot of inspiration from like YouTube, um, but like kind of all genres of YouTube. Like I'll watch some like just general like outdoor content from like maybe like Outdoor Boys or Clay Hayes or something like that. It's a little more like raw, real. And then I'll maybe watch something more polished, like a brand hunt film piece or something like that, or like more like an individual, like kind of vlog, but maybe polished style. Like there's just so many different styles now. So yeah, I definitely take a lot of inspiration just from YouTube. Um, but also, I mean, just like kind of like everything, like films, like watching. I try and watch like movies on a regular basis, just because I think it's overall like a really great way just to see like the ultra high polished look, feel, why they chose this shot, and watching it both analytically but also just as like a kind of like wide open, like eyes wide open viewer, just be like, wow, like this is a great movie, or made me feel this way, and just trying to like kind of set those analytical things aside of trying to analyze what lens did they use for this shot or how they moved the camera to do that, but also just kind of like being like a child again, and just like taking in media like with a childlike brain, and and just taking in that creativity, and just seeing kind of where that leads. But yeah, definitely trying to like do like pre-production, kind of like writing down notes of just anything from like questions I can ask the hunter that I'll be out with, to kind of tie it back into like hunting. Like if I know I'm going out hunting with so and so, is there anything that like I know that maybe they've gone through in the last like few years, or like this season of life, like how can I maybe tie that into what was we're going through on the hunt. Like maybe it's a hunt where it's like we go get our butts kicked for 3 days, and then it's like, okay, like on day three, you're noticing that trend of like this isn't going to be a slam dunk. Like who knows what this could end up being. But then like just like leading, going that way with the story. But at the same time, maybe always going into a hunt like with a story in mind, but just knowing that just hold it loosely. Basically, is what I'm saying. Is just like hold that creatively loosely, and just see where, because you're just a documentary filmmaker at that point, and you got to go where the story goes. But yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that. Tell me more about your process before you go on a hunt like that. Like you talked a little bit about it, but like, is there other things that's going through your mind that you're trying to think of before you go on that hunt and start filming?
Yeah, I'd say like I'm a big user of like my notes app on my phone. So I'll just, sometimes I'll just be eating lunch, and all of a sudden like an idea will hit me, and I'll be like, oh my gosh, I have to write that down. And so I'll just write it in my notes. Um, about, and that could be just like I said, an interview question, or, like while we're glassing on the mountain, just something like in the moment type of a thing. Like right now, like that hunt I mentioned with Blue Pole and Jason Phelps, like it's going to be kind of a unique hunt in terms of like the location and the tag and everything like that. So I'm trying to lean really into, um, just like the nuggets of like, the kind of like the why behind hunting, like for this person or that person that's going to be on a hunt too, like, and just try and tell like a story that's broader than like what's actually happening. Um, and then, mix and then interweave the two together. Um, and then kind of just have that plan, in motion, both in the terms of if the hunt doesn't go the way everyone's expecting it to, but also if it does, you can still tell that story, but also maybe tie in some other things that are, beyond the hunt, so to speak. That's something I'm always trying to kind of like lean into, or think more critically about, or maybe like think like, kind of off the walls about, just like how can I maybe tell a different story, while also showing like this is like a awesome hunt, and like all the different aspects of it, like to make you like feel like you're like right there. Because there's, I feel like in the last few years there's been like a big kind of like, push towards like, having this, polished high end film, but also making you like really feel, like you're like out there. Um, and before that, I feel like you either had like the more raw vloggy style that makes you feel like you're out there, or you had like this crazy high end polished, like crazy, like, I'm trying to think like a Yeti film type style, or like a, just like something that's just like really beautiful, like very ethereal kind of a style. But I think like guys like Jay Crast and a few others, like they're just like trying to like merge the two. I think it's like a beautiful thing. That's like really good for the industry. But I mean, there's a lot of like he's just one example, but there's a lot of guys that are doing that. Like me and John Bash, like that's something like we're always trying to do, like with the Project Hunt stuff, is just like how do we tell these like very human stories, but also like do the hunt justice, where it's like, you know, not just like a day 1, day 2, day 3, but sometimes that's how it goes, and sometimes we'll lean into that too, because I think that's still an awesome way to tell the story of the hunt. But you know, telling, like I said, telling the whole story of the hunt and like not leaving out any details, but telling a story that's greater than the hunt too at the same time, right alongside of it.
Yeah.
But not every hunt, kind of going back to that, but not every hunt has to be that either. I think that's where like with YouTube and stuff, like I still watch a lot of more day by day stuff, and I think that too is still alive and well, and like an amazing medium as well, because not every hunt I think should be like this crazy metaphorical ethereal. Sometimes, like I said, it just depends on the story, and that really comes down to like the editing room of, you know, trying to make that decision of like, nope, this is going to be more of like a cut and dry day by day kind of a style, and not everything has to be this like massive, you know, blockbuster film, because all of us guys who edit these hunt films would be like, I don't know, stressed out of our minds trying to do that. Because yeah, not every hunt is just going to be this incredibly cinematic story and has all the right perfect rises and falls, and then a big rise, and then climax, and then a drop. Like some hunts might have a different story arc, and so just trying to see that in the field, and just kind of like follow where it goes, and then, you know, maybe the editing suite try and, you know, align that a little bit more with the classic, you know, high school literature, like, you know, setting, rising action, you know, drama, and then climax, and then falling action, conclusion. Yeah, just always trying to like see how that lines up, but at the same time, just go with where it goes.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I love that. I kind of try and do that in my stuff, because in my mind, I'm taking that vlog style, like super just personal human aspect, and then bringing out my expensive cameras and like trying to just make it look better, right?
For sure.
And so it's not a style that people do it, and it's not like a new thing or whatever, but it's definitely different, because it's harder than just going out and just filming something. You actually have to have some experience with the camera,
For sure.
especially if you're filming your own hunts. Um, but it brings in that like cinematic view, which I love doing that and seeing that and capturing that. And sometimes it's hard to do when you're filming your own hunt versus filming other people's hunts, because you can just be behind the camera and figure it out when you're filming someone else's hunt. But on your own hunt, it's a lot harder to get shots and stuff like that. So
Yeah, I haven't officially tried it really on my own hunt. And yeah, dude,
you
like
should do it.
like even just like your scouting video you posted not that long ago, like I was just like, dang, that's some dedication and work. Like it's difficult, and like a lot of guys maybe won't see that because they don't understand all the ins and outs of it. Um, but yeah, dude, I'm really excited. Are you almost done working on your bear film with you and Jamin from this spring?
Yeah, I'm getting there on it. We're I'm trying to get it done in the next couple weeks
Nice.
here. Sooner than later, of course. It's where it's getting. I wish I had it done sooner, as always. But
Oh, for sure. No, I'm really
but
excited.
yeah, it's coming along. We have tons of footage, dude. Like we have so much footage because there's two of us filming,
But you guys
and
killed a bunch of bears too.
we killed 4 bears. 3 of them were on film.
Yeah.
One of them was our buddy who we were separate when he killed his. But so yeah, it's like a lot of stuff, and just trying to figure out how to piece it together. It's probably one of the more complicated ones I've done so far. Just mostly just from a perspective of like, how do I want to break this up? Like, should we do 3 parts to this, or like one huge film? Like,
One mega
we're still
video.
trying to,
Yeah.
yeah, still trying to get it worked out. But it's gonna be fun. I'm excited for it to come out, and I've got like most of the main parts of the film like edited and pretty good. It's just figuring out how to put it together now.
Heck yeah, dude. That's
So
awesome. Yeah, I just watched his Jamin's video he did with Hunter from their Wyoming elk hunt. That was sick.
Yeah,
That was a
I
great
haven't seen that yet.
Yeah, I just saw
Check
it
it
like
out.
a week ago, I think.
Yeah, I think it just came out
Yeah.
like last week or something. Nice. Yeah, dude, Jamin's awesome. He's done some good stuff for me, with me and with Hunter, and
Yeah.
I think
No,
he was working with
I've
Hunter
heard
a
he's just
bunch. So
a crazy hard worker, and yeah, like I think he actually edited that elk film as well. He crushed it.
probably, yeah, dude. I mean, we were like on our bear hunt. We'd packed out all three of our bears back to the truck, and we had like 3 or 4 days left to hunt, and we were all like spent. Jamin's like, dude, like let's freaking go. Let's go kill another bear. We got like 2 more tags. I was like, man, all right, like it's gonna suck. But we did it. We didn't kill another bear. And yeah, dude, Jamin's just like, he'll get after it. He's like, dude, if you guys don't want to go, I'll just go by myself. I was like, well, we're going to come with you. Like,
Yeah,
we need to. But
awesome.
yeah, it's fun, dude. Did you do a bear hunt this year?
I actually did. I didn't have a tag, but I went hunting
Okay.
with one of my closest friends from actually since middle school. We've been friends since seventh grade. But yeah, his name is Kyle Ferguson, and he was actually visiting me in Boise back in November. And his parents or his dad grew up hunting and hunted a little bit, but he like never really went hunting as a kid or anything. Kyle. And then he reached out to, or when he was here visiting, he was just like, dude, I really want to like get into hunting. Like I've just seen like all the cool adventures and like things that you've gotten to do and stuff. And like, obviously the meat and like providing for your family. And like, I really like I want that. And I want to learn about that. And I'm like, dude, yeah, like I would love to take you out. Like that would just be so fun. Cause like I said, we've been like through so much of life together. I was like in his wedding and like, it's like one of my definitely like closest friends. And so he was just like, he's like, what's the first hunt I can do? And I was like, well, it's November. So, get your hunting license. And then I would say like, and he lives in Oregon. So I was like, get your hunting license and then put in for a spring bear tag in Oregon. Cause you have to draw in Oregon for spring bear. And I was like, I'm going to put in two. But if you draw, like, I'll take you out and we'll go. And so we all put in, and then Alexa and I didn't draw, but he did. And so, which, I was like, well, I said, I still take you. So I'll take you. So we kind of figured out with our schedule, and I ended up going over there for just the last week of the season, which ended up being pretty warm. It was like, in the valley floors, it was like, anywhere from 85 to 95, kind of, pretty hot for that time of year. It was like a good heat wave. And then the mountains were, anywhere from like 70 to 80. So it was really warm. The bears like probably really weren't coming out from where I was here until like right at last light. And then like we didn't have like any clouds. It was just like baking sun. So anyway, I drove over there and we went out for like, I think it was like 4 days in a row, and we didn't see a single bear. And we were like checking out, good spots that I knew about, checking out some new spots that I've been wanting to check out from e-scouting, hiking in, walking in, like we were just covering country, like from, all the way from like 3,000 feet all the way up to like 7, just like trying to check out like different spots, like where the snow level's at, trying to find sign. And kind of like the most sign we found was like kind of like that mid range between those two figures. And so it was like the last day of the season, and I was talking to him. I was like, dude, like, what do you want to do? Like, this is your tag. Like, we've been grinding. Like, I have no like other, spots to like scratch off the list, like, probably maybe we should just revisit one if you want to go out. But if you don't want to go out, like, dude, like, totally understand. Like, sometimes hunts just don't end up, with a filled tag, and that's totally fine. Like, it's really just about the adventure, and you're going to spend quality time with each other and all that stuff. And he's just like, no, dude, like, I want to go out. Like, let's go out where the first night we went out, we saw some bear sign that was kind of old, but at least we saw some. And I was just like, oh yeah, like if you want to go to that spot, like we can totally go there, spend the whole evening, do whatever. And just, ride this thing out till the last hour of the season. So that's what basically we did. We kind of made a big loop, checked out some new areas. Nothing, like just hotter than heck out there. And then we kind of scurried over to that last, spot where we saw that sign on the first day of the week. And we get over there, and then, we see some deer feeding, like right as the sun's starting to set, like some deer start popping out, some elk start popping out. And I was just like, dude, like the animals are up. Like it's cool. Like, I've got a good feeling. Like, the moon was it was like a sliver too. So it was just like all the things were just kind of coming into a line. I'm just like, this could be really, really good. The temperatures were dropping, and we kind of like cruised through this big clearing about like a mile wide, and it was kind of like a staired clearing. So there was like a upper little skid road and then like a lower one. And we basically, what I did is I just parked in the trees, and then we just kind of walked out and then just walked the lower road. And that's where we saw the deer and elk, and I was getting pretty stoked. I'm like, dude, there has to be a bear somewhere out here. And turns out there wasn't. So we kind of walked back about a mile, get in the truck, and I was like, okay, we're just going to drive up to the upper road, park, a couple hundred yards in the trees, and then just walk out again and see kind of what we see. So we get back to the truck, and we're headed up to the upper road, and something in me was just like, dude, I want to look back at that clearing we just walked through like one more time. I just had this feeling like I should do it, and I can't really explain it. And so I put it in reverse, and Kyle was like, what are you doing? And I was just like, I know we just walked through here and blew our scent out and everything, but I just want to look one more time. So I literally just pulled to the entrance of the clearing, parked the truck, and we're just like looking through the windshield at what we just, walked through and everything. And all of a sudden we see this like big black blob on the edge of the timber. And I was like, Kyle and I were both just like like looking at the windshield, and I was just like,
that's crazy.
We pull over binos, and I'm like, dude, and we were both at the same time, we're like, that's a bear. And so we both just like clasped hands, and I said like a 5-second prayer. I was like, Lord, just like help us get this bear. Like, that's like, just in the heat of the moment, I was just like, things could go, it's gonna be hectic. Like, it's the last hour of light. So like we jump out of the truck, grab the rifle, I grabbed the tripod because I wasn't sure if it was gonna be like a tripod situation because he was kind of like uphill and there's like scattered trees and stuff. And I just knew it was gonna be hectic. And obviously this is like Kyle's like first, big game hunt, big game animal, all that stuff. And he was about 400 yards away when we saw him. So we like just hightailed it to this clearing. We ended up finding like this little like perfect little berm that was just like a nice uphill rise, and got him set up prone so we didn't have to use the tripod. And then the bear was just kind of like feeding left and right, like going back and forth right on the edge of the timber. And I could tell he was a big bear. And I was trying not to like really communicate that to Kyle. I was just like, oh, he's like just a bear. I didn't want him to like, get all like amped up or like worried of like, oh no, like, I just was like, hey, like we got plenty of time. Like he's going to turn broadside eventually. And so he got set up, and then we just waited for him to, eventually he turned back left and he just started feeding broadside. There was an open shot, and Kyle just like he's done it 100 times, just was like cool, calm, and collected. And I was like, hey, and I was just filming through my binos just because it was just so last minute. And I was just like, hey, if you're set up, you got your breath, under control, like go ahead and just press that trigger, just right behind the shoulder. And he just absolutely hammered him. And it was like a 320-yard shot. And the bear just like a sack of potatoes just like dropped, hit the floor, and then got up and just took off running towards the timber. And immediately I was just like, oh no, is he gonna go in the timber? We're gonna have to be like crawling around the dark timber like all night long looking for this thing. Because in the heat of the moment, I couldn't really see like him drop until I went back and watched the video, which I was so glad I filmed it through my binos. But he dropped and then just ran. I ran out of sight, and I just kind of knew he probably made a good shot just based on everything. And so like Kyle and I hugged each other, and we were so excited. And we decided to give him like 30 minutes before we like went tromping up there to look. And so we, walked up there, and then sure enough, 40 yards away, he was just piled up.
That's awesome.
Crazy. Yeah. It was just like such a cool moment. Cause like I said, Kyle and I have just been through so much in life, and just to experience that with him, like on his first ever hunt, he shoots this like 300-pound black bear, and I was just like, this is crazy, dude. And we walked up on him, and we were just like freaking out, and hooting and hollering. So it's one of the most wholesome experiences I've had in the mountains for sure. Just because Kyle is, like I said, like a brother to me. So
yeah, that's cool, dude. I love that you got to take what you've learned over the last few years and share that. Like that's awesome.
No, I'm so grateful, dude. Like I still like, it's funny, I still have not killed a bear, but none of hunts I've been on where I've filmed one or helped people or what have you. Like I find so much enjoyment just like being a part of it, and just like helping, like I said, helping Kyle or helping Alexa get one 2 years ago. Like just that for me fills my cup maybe more than me actually pulling the trigger. I don't know. Like I said, I don't know. Like I just love, seeing, like, having those experiences with people I love. Like there's just nothing better. And hopefully, Kyle then will get to share that with somebody else one day, whether it's, his kids or his wife or his dad, or whoever, like that's how this whole thing continues to go. Because had my dad not been that person for me and taking me out, and having those experiences when I was just a little kid, packing a BB gun, shooting blue jays and elk camp, like, had he not, like, taking me out on those experiences, like I wouldn't be sitting here today talking to you. So
Yeah. That's cool, dude. I love it. Thanks for sharing some of that and some of those experiences.
absolutely.
We'll probably wrap it up just due to time right now, but freaking, we need to hop on another podcast and
Dude,
eventually, because I feel like we have so much more we could share, and you have a lot of good stuff, man. So,
yeah, maybe we
dude,
can
thanks
do
for coming on.
sometime, because we're trying to come back over to Idaho Falls sometime this summer, just to see some friends and stuff like that. But it'd be awesome, maybe just to, like, go out for evening, just like post up, like on a park bench or maybe at your house or whatever. We could just do like a little podcast and just, I love in person ones. Like it's always just nice kind of riff in person.
Yeah, it is nice. Yeah, we'll be in Boise a little bit here in the next few weeks too. But
really?
we can chat. Yeah. Cool, dude.
If you guys
cool. Well,
you guys are welcome to stay with us too. We got some spare bedrooms here at our house.
Sweet. Cool. Thanks, dude. Stay on. We'll chat for a sec, but we'll wrap it up. Thanks everyone for watching. Thanks, Luke, for hopping on. We'll see you guys next week.
Thank you, Logan.